I'm from Indiana, but I'm a Red Sox fan.
And I'm from Minnesota, but I'm a Yankees fan.
And welcome to the Rivalry Out of State, our MLB series here on the Running the Table podcast, where we run through everything in the world of baseball and the MLB. I'm Drew Westland alongside Andrew Sinicariello, and we're about 8, 9, 10 games through the season. So let's take a look at some breakout stars, what guys have been doing well, and through what we've seen so far, who can really burst onto the scene and become a star in this 2022 season. So, Andrew, are you ready to go?
Let's run it.
Let's do it. It's been a while, but Andrew, you have our first guy that we're going to cover. Who is it?
Our first guy is outfielder for the Marlins, Jesús Sánchez. So in 2021, he had 227 at-bats, and he hit 251, had an on-base percentage of 319, slugging 489, and had an OPS plus of 116. So a pretty good start, and it's only gotten better so far here in 2022. Starting off at an average of 310, slugging at 690, and his OPS plus is a staggering 183. So really hot start for him this season, and I think he's just one of the many players on that Marlins roster that has potential to be one of the many young stars, and I think he'll be a fun guy to watch for years to come.
Totally agree. Jesús Sánchez is a guy that really flew under the radar last year. He had a really good 2021. That 116 OPS plus is a mark that I didn't really realize myself. And 14 homers and 227 at bats, not a bad mark. If you look at his baseball savant numbers, they're really all red. This guy has been mashing the ball quietly all throughout the first week or so. If you look at his savant numbers, he's in the 80th percentile or more in expected weighted on base average, expected batting average, and expected slugging percentage. And in terms of max exit velo, he's in the 91st percentile. Average exit velo, he's in the 69th percentile, and hard hit percentage, he's in the 73rd percentile. So Jesús Sánchez has gotten to a hot start, and he has potential for a lot more. So I'm really on the same page with you. I actually also have a Miami Marlin, but we're going to switch to a different side of the field. We're going to go to the rubber and take a look at left-hander Jesús Luzardo. Jesús Luzardo was a guy who had a not a great 2021 with the Athletics, and he was traded midseason to the Marlins. With 95 innings pitched, he went 6-9 with a 6.61 ERA, 98 strikeouts to 48 walks, and a 63 ERA plus, but not great. But Jesús Luzardo in his first start against the Anaheim Angels was absolutely lights out. In 5 innings, he threw a 2-hitter, 1 earned run, and 12 strikeouts, which was a career high for him. If you look at what he did really well, he loved his fastball, which was up 2 ticks from last year, around 95 miles an hour. Now he's sitting around 97. And his curveball, which has been absolutely filthy. He changed the angle on it. He used it 50% of the time, and 9 out of his 12 strikeouts were on that breaking ball. So the Marlins, what they love to do is they love to take these pitchers, they love to develop them, they love to morph them, and they've done it again by arguably resurrecting Jesús Luzardo's career. And in terms of the track record for Marlins pitchers, you look at Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, Trevor Rogers, and now I think Jesús Luzardo can join that class in, what's becoming a really great Marlins pitching staff.
Yeah, that just kind of showed up out of nowhere. I mean, talk about a turnaround going from a 6.61 ERA to having 12 strikeouts against the Angels offense. That's pretty impressive. And yeah, being able to improve that fastball by 2 miles an hour, that's no easy task. So props to the Marlins for developing Luzardo this offseason and getting him ready for this year.
Yeah, well,
And
another
adding
thing,
to an
like,
already
yeah,
great staff.
Yeah, like another thing that you want to see in pitchers is like where's the velocity at? And if it's a consistent uptick, like you've seen in Luzardo, he was definitely throwing harder than he was last year. So that's something that, that's really you want to see in a pitcher. So, Andrew, I know we have a third Marlin. The Marlins have a lot of guys that have been impressing as of late. Who is it?
Yes, we do. Now we have second base slash shortstop Jazz Chisholm. So he made his debut in 2020. He was off to a slow start, but he's been improving every year since being called up to the majors in 2021. He had 464 at bats. He was a constant starter, batting 248, with an on-base percentage of 303 and an OPS plus of 96. So a bit of a slow start, but so far he's been off to a pretty good start here in 2022. Batting 278, slugging 778, and an OPS plus of 215 to start off the season here. So that's pretty amazing. And another thing to mention about Jazz Chisholm is that he's pretty fast. In 2021, he had 23 stolen bases, and that is fourth in the National League. And I see no reason why it'll be any different this year. So, yeah, another great player to add to the Marlins team. And I think we should look out for them in the near future. They could be a dangerous team.
When you look at Jazz Chisholm as opposed to Jesus Sanchez was doing it a little bit more quietly. Jazz Chisholm is just doing it as loud as he possibly can. You mentioned the 23 stolen bases, and that's really what you think of when it comes to Jazz Chisholm. It's the speed, it's the flair, it's the excitement that's made him a household name with the Miami Marlins. And although the stat line in 2021 didn't really reflect that kind of star power, what he's doing in 2022 definitely does. He's looked a lot better. Hopefully he can cut down on the strikeouts, because that was really what kind of tanked his production last year. If Jazz Chisholm can be more consistent in putting the ball in the barrel, not striking out, taking more walks, I think he can definitely become the centerpiece of this Miami Marlins squad. And I completely agree. We've gone through 3 players so far, and it is just littered with Miami Marlins. So South Beach is going to be a very fun place to play baseball in the near future. But now let's go on to another pitcher that I have. Matt Brash of the Seattle Mariners. This is a guy that hasn't pitched above Double-A in his life. So you're probably wondering, who the heck is Matt Brash? He was a surprise addition to the Mariners opening day roster, and he made his major league debut, a very daunting task at Chicago in the South Side against the White Sox. And his stat line, it wasn't really indicative of his performance. He went 5 1/3 with 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and 6 strikeouts. But going up against the White Sox in your major league debut is just not easy at all. And he was turning heads the whole way, not because he was absolutely lighting stuff up, but because of that pitch repertoire. It is absolutely filthy. He's got a fastball that sits 99 miles an hour, and he's painting. It's got run and a little bit of sink, but that's not even the most impressive thing about Matt Brash's repertoire. It's the breaking ball that he utilizes. Like, some people call it a curveball, some people call it a slider, but that's because he varies it up. He varies the speeds, he varies the movement, whether it's more vertical, whether it's more horizontal, but it looks like an absolute wiffle ball. It's been described as cartoonish, where all 6 of his strikeouts against the White Sox and all 11 of his swings and misses came off of that breaking ball. And he uses all 3 of those pitches equally: his fastball, curveball, and slider, where he uses fastball about 35% of the time, curveball about 34% of the time, and slider about 28% of the time. He also has the occasional show me changeup. So although his first start wasn't like quite dominant like Jesus Luzardo's was, we just took a look at, there is stuff there for Matt Brash, and he is going to be very exciting. And it was well worth the opening day spot on the roster. He is not going to disappoint the Mariners at all.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The fact that you mentioned all 6 strikeouts and 11 swings and misses comes off cartoonish breaking balls. The fact that he could perfect that against the White Sox of all teams, I mean, they got one of the most stacked offenses in the league. Can only imagine what it'll be like in his next start against the Yankees. Yeah, forget about that. But he's going to be a dangerous pitcher for sure. The fact that he made the jump from Double-A, not even Triple-A, that's pretty amazing. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, look, it's not going to be, because going from the White Sox to the Yankees in your first start to the next is never easy. He's a young guy. He's going to make mistakes, but there's definitely potential there. And if the Mariners develop him well, he's going to be absolutely filthy. I think he definitely has ace potential in the tank. But you got some more fielders that you want to take a look at. Andrew, who we got up next?
All right, so I got 2 outfielders here. I got Stephen Kwan and Jo Adell. So I'll talk about Stephen Kwan first. He's on the Cleveland Guardians, and he made his MLB debut this year.
Guardians.
Yeah, Guardians
Weird.
Still growing
so
on it.
So weird to say.
It's going to take a bit to get used to.
I do kind of like their unis, though. I like, it's.
Oh, yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah, it's less traditional than what they had before. Anyway, enough about the rebranding of the Cleveland roller skating team. What about Stephen Kwan?
Sure. So he's been off to a phenomenal start ever since being called up. When we mentioned our predictions for AL Rookie of the Year, we didn't even mention him. Now
No,
I'm thinking we
we
should
did
have.
not at all.
So far he's had 32 at bats and 15 hits. So that means he's batting at 469 so far to start the season, with 500 on base percentage and an OPS plus of 269. The one downfall that he has, though, is so far he's been shown as a contact hitter. So I don't think we'll be seeing many home runs from him, but he would be a great guy to have in your leadoff spot, where you can get a guy where he can get himself on base and then be able to come a run when you got your cleanup guy like Jose Ramirez batting. But looking at his stats in the minors, he had a 400 on base percentage, and that's just amazing. And he had a 9.1% walk rate, which is almost more than his strikeout rate. And yes, while we're all loving his amazing start to the season, it probably will go down eventually, unfortunately, as we see it happen a lot with some rookies. But talk about great potential to start off here.
Yeah, he's absolutely exploded. He made the opening day roster for the Guardians, and you hit the nail right on the head. When you look at that like contact approach, you're not going to see any home runs out of Stephen Kwan. That's fine. And I really wouldn't call that a downfall because you've seen it work in smaller sample sizes in the majors in the past. Think about guys like David Fletcher, who's been able to make it work, who's hit for a high average, who's been able to contribute on a team like the Angels. When it's not going well, it's really not going well. But Stephen Kwan's been able to make it work so far. And yes, you do talk about the regression, 469 batting average, getting on base 50% of the time. That is unsustainable unless your name is Juan Soto. All right. It just doesn't happen, but it can work, right? He's been red hot to the start of the season, but there is plenty of reason to think that Stephen Kwan is for real. And we have so much confidence in him. But who's the other guy you got?
Right. So I mentioned Jo Adell. He's the outfielder for the Angels. And so there you go, another Angel. Wait, no, we didn't mention an Angel. Forget what I said. um, so he's another guy that was kind of off to a slow start. In 2021, he batted 246, slugging percentage of 408, and he had a 90 OPS plus. And 2022, he's at a 190 average, but his OPS plus is 111. So I think he's another guy that has a lot of potential. He's only 23, so he's still really young, still got plenty of time to develop. And I mean, he's an outfielder. He'll be working with Mike Trout, who's the best of the best. And when he debuted in the MLB in 2020, he was the #3 prospect. So there's a lot to improve on with Jo Adell. And I think he has the potential to become a young star on the Angels team.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just put this into perspective here. He doesn't need to develop right away. All right. You mentioned Mike Trout. You mentioned Shohei Ohtani. You got hitters like David Fletcher, Anthony Rendon, Jared Walsh. So that Angels lineup is really good as it is. So you don't need him to be great right away. And you look at the batting average at 190, right? That's fine. But he is essentially the yin to Stephen Kwan's yang, where Stephen Kwan doesn't hit any home runs. That's all Jo Adell does. Jo Adell mashes. That is what he is known for. He is known for his bat. He is known for being able to put the baseball over the wall and hit home runs. The batting average, that will come up. The on-base percentage, that will come up. Sure, he's struggling, but all young players go through their stretches where they don't exactly have it. They don't exactly find it. And then suddenly it's like a light switch turns on and boom, they're mashing everything out of sight. So I am particularly high on Jo Adell myself. So I think he's somebody that can really make an impact on this Angels team very, very soon. He's just got to figure out a little more things first. Just got to make a few tweaks to his game. He'll be all right. But now it's time for me to look at some relief pitchers to wrap this thing up because I am a pitching enthusiast. I love closers. And one guy that has really stuck out to me, Camilo Doval of the San Francisco Giants. Last year, Jake McGee had a firm hold onto the closer role for the 100-plus win Giants, and he was dominant. He was saving everything in sight. He looked like an all-star. And then this 24-year-old Dominican kid that throws triple digits just shows up, and he took the job from the jump, just from the jump. He was striking guys out. He was getting saves. And when it came to like October last year, it wasn't Jake McGee that was getting the ball in the ninth in the NLDS against the Dodgers. It was Camilo Doval. So you kind of scratch your head and go, okay, who is this kid? And then Gabe Kapler goes, oh yeah, McGee's our guy, closer committee, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no, Doval has had all of the meaningful save opportunities other than like one Dominic Leone save, and Jake McGee, he had a save, but that's because Camilo Doval needs a rest. You can't just throw your guy like out there unless your name is Liam Hendriks, because he's picked up 4 saves in the last 5 days or something like that. And it's been awesome to see because Liam Hendriks is a beast. But anyway, back to Camilo Doval. If you look at his stuff, you have that cutter that he throws at 97 to 101. He can hit triple digits. And then he's got a slider that he throws 58% of the time at 85 to 88. If you look at his baseball savant numbers, a lot of red. His average exit velo, even though he had one blow up start against the Miami Marlins, his first appearance of the year, his average exit velo is in the 98th percentile, and he gets swings and misses. In 34 games, it's not a large sample size, but he has an 11.7 career K per 9. Simply put, buy stock now. If this guy is able to supplant Jake McGee, who is a confirmed closer who has closed over the past decade or so for the Rays, the Rockies, the Royals a little bit, there's something to this kid, Camilo Doval. I am all in on him.
Yeah, no, absolutely filthy numbers. The cutter's already a filthy pitch in its own, but if your range is 97 to 101, forget about hitting it. You ain't getting that. Simply put, I mean, as a Yankees fan, you know Mariano Rivera. So whenever you see a cutter, you're like, yes, you know that pitcher's good. So yeah, that would be pretty amazing to see if he dethrones Jake McGee and becomes the closer of the Giants.
Well, quite
And the
frankly, I
Giants
think he already has,
think he's already
because
proved it.
it hasn't been much of a committee so far this year. Doval has taken the majority of the save opportunities, and other than his one blow-up start, he's converted. He's followed through. He's going to figure it out, and he's going to be leading that bullpen for the Giants. And another I got who's like really lesser known, Jhoan Durán of the Minnesota Twins. He is incredibly new. I mean, like painstakingly new. He made his MLB debut about a week ago, but he has climbed the ladder of the Twins bullpen so fast, and he'll close this game. He'll close games really, really soon. I mean, like maybe within a month or so. Like that's how quickly he's become acclimated to the major league game. And because Taylor Rogers got traded to the Padres, that only accelerated that process. And he has the stuff to be the next dominant closer. He's got a 4-pitch mix where his fastball averages 102, 100.2 miles an hour. That's how hard his fastball is. He can touch 102, 103. But when you got a guy that's sitting that hard, and then you add in split, like a cutter, a curveball, it's just yikes. This guy is going to be very, very good for the Minnesota Twins.
Talk about a player that the Twins needed. Their biggest weakness is the bullpen. And based on his starts so far, you can't ask for much more. I mean, this is literally the most perfect scenario for the Twins. You have a guy averaging 100 miles an hour on a fastball, but then you can also throw a splitter at 96. Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Yeah, this
Yeah, no,
guy's
I mean, I was thinking Taylor Rogers, he was a good enough reliever, but then he's starting off better.
Taylor Rogers has been locking it down in San Diego, and Taylor Rogers is what the Padres needed because Robert Suarez didn't really deliver. But instead of the Twins, Rocco Baldelli, he doesn't have to turn to Jorge Alcala or Tyler Duffy. He can just hand the ball to Jhoan Durán when he feels he's ready and just say, go get him, kid, save the ninth. And that guy is going to be very nasty. So we have some guys that we think can break out: Jesus Sánchez, Jazz Chisholm, Stephen Kwan, Joe Adell, Matt Brash, Jesús Luzardo, Camilo Doval, and Jhoan Durán to wrap it up. But that is all we got for today's episode. It's been a very, very fun baseball season so far. We're looking forward to covering more of it. And If you want to see a part 2 to this video, we can definitely do that because there are more guys worth looking at that can be stars in this season. Just let us know in the comments what you think, what you want. Let us know. But until next time, like and subscribe for more The Rivalry Out of State and other stuff here on the Running the Table podcast. And we out.